All right, time to do some divisional ranking. Why are the Vikings still here? Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. I hope I'm drowning in Seahawk tears this weekend. Grossi, and today we will be ranking the final 8 teams left in the NFL playoffs. Oh, baby. Whew. Does anyone else have PTSD for the Seahawks game? Anyone, or is it just me? No? Yeah, I'm a bit nervous, even though I think the Packers have a better team. You just never know with those sea chickens when they just come up and rip your heart out and stomp on it in front of you. So I'm always a little bit nervous. That's why I'll be ranking the Seahawks number 9 out of the 8 teams remaining. So let's start off with number 8. We got the Houston Texans. Yeah, the Texans coming away with a win in overtime against the Buffalo Bills, coming back after a 13-point deficit. And man, for 3.5 quarters, that team looked flat as hell. Watson, my God, pulled off like the play of the playoffs, and it was only the first week. It was only the first game of that weekend, literally getting hit by 2 defenders, and just physics allowed him to stay up and complete that pass to drive them down the field, which was absolutely incredible. There are some similarities between the Texans and the Seahawks. One, that they have a magical quarterback who really could get them out of any situation. And it took a while for the Texans to really come alive. And once they did, they kind of had the momentum of the home field crowd. J.J. Watt started getting more involved with the game. And so why I have the Texans ranked so low is because they mightily struggled against the Bills, and they're now going into Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs in mid-January. I don't know if they're going to be able to stop their offense. Now, obviously, the Texans did beat the Chiefs earlier this season, but the Chiefs are a little bit of a transformed team now, at least theoretically with that defense. And so because of that, I think the Texans don't really have a great shot of winning next week. Then coming in at number 7, you got the Seattle Seahawks. And again, what makes them rank so low is a number of things. One, they're injured to death. Literally, they have all the injuries in the world. They got Homer in the backfield, and they got Lynch. And Lynch showing those sparks of beast mode a little bit, right? Homer's actually been pretty darn efficient for them. He was really, really good in the 49ers game a couple of weeks ago. But Russell Wilson can make anything happen. DK Metcalf had an amazing game, and obviously paired with Tyler Lockett, that offense can wreak havoc. But their offensive line does struggle. Their defense is filled with injuries right now. And I think it's just a matter of they're going up against the Green Bay Packers, which hopefully, optimistically, knock on every single piece of wood I possibly have, that, you know, their offensive line is not going to be able to contend with our defensive line. And so it's really just more about the injuries. They did struggle against a very beat up and Carson Wentz-less Eagles. And so I don't really know how good they're going to be, but you just never know with the Seahawks, which just makes me hate them so much. Then at number 6, you have the Tennessee Titans. Good God. Derrick Henry is a literal monster. I haven't watched a full Titans game until this past Saturday. And the guy is just like, he's a monster. Like, he's like Frankenstein is running out there and just eating people. And I know you can be like, it's Frankenstein's monster. Shut up, you nerd. But yeah, they're off. I'm not terribly surprised that they won, right? With Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill's been playing pretty darn well. What surprised me is actually how good their defense was. Now, you can credit the fact that the Patriots offense couldn't get anything going and they sucked, but the fact that the Titans were able to hold such a slim lead and keep that lead for the entire game was really impressive to me. Now, they're obviously going up against, in my opinion, the best team in football, which are the Baltimore Ravens, and so that is going to be the ultimate test. And if the Titans can somehow pull off a magical win against the Ravens, who knows? Maybe I'll just be a little bit of a believer in the Tennessee Titans. Then at number 5, you know what you did. The Minnesota Vikings. They went into New Orleans and Their defense suffocated Drew Brees. They had nothing going. Brees making dumbass decisions, throwing picks, and then Kamara could not get involved with the game at all. They made Michael Thomas look irrelevant, which is a very difficult thing to do. Their defense really was just a major factor as to why they won. And of course, the man of the hour, Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook literally was their offense. When they have Dalvin Cook going, the Vikings are a completely different team. And Kirk Cousins did diddly squat for basically 3 quarters, but he showed up when he had to, and he showed up at the very end. They're also going to be taking on the number 1 seeded San Francisco 49ers. And so that is going to be an incredibly hard test for them. And there's a part of me that is actually kind of pulling for the Vikings, because if the Packers win and the Vikings win, that means we have the NFC Championship in Lambeau Field against the Vikings. That could either go really well or really poorly. But there are some question marks on their offense, and if the 49ers defense is able to contain Dalvin Cook, it might be a rough night. Then number 4, you got the Green Bay frackin' Packers. Oh, we had that week off, and at this point I would have preferred the Eagles. That would have been nice. I would have played the Eagles definitely, but of course we got the Sea Chickens instead. Now we're gonna have to contend with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, which is gonna put some pressure on our secondary. But the one big advantage that I will give the Packers is, of course, our D-line. Zadarius Smith, right, our edge rushers with Preston Smith, and hell, even Kenny Clark, Dean Lowry, they might be feasting. You know, being played in Lambeau, Russell Wilson doesn't have the greatest record in Lambeau. Good, please, let's keep it that way. I think it all depends on what the offense is going to do. Is the offense going to put up points? Because if they do, I think that the defense can hold Russell Wilson and co. To a modest amount, but it depends on how much pressure we get on Russell Wilson, because he could do magical things with those legs. But right now, the Packers are sitting at number 4 right now, and I hope to be ranking them again next week. Then at number 3, you have the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, again, we talked about they lost to the Texans earlier this season. I think it's going to be very difficult for the Texans to go into Arrowhead and actually win this week. Their defense has improved. Their offense can be unstoppable at times. I still think that their defense, though, is questionable. And when I put them up against teams like the Ravens, I still give the edge to the Ravens 100% of the time. But I think it would be a complete shocker if the Texans actually go into Arrowhead and win. But who knows? Crazier things have happened. Then at number 2, you got the San Francisco 49ers. Yeah, they got a pretty darn good matchup because they don't have to play the Seahawks. And the Seahawks, obviously that divisional rival, plays them incredibly well and incredibly tough. So their defense has given up points in the past against good offenses. But that's the thing. The Minnesota Vikings have a good offense. They have a good Dalvin Cook. So if they're able to neutralize him as a threat, him and Madison, then I think that the 49ers should be able to be good in this game. And then finally, number 1, you got the Baltimore Ravens. The only thing that gives me slight pause about the Ravens is Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram still seems to not be practicing, still dealing with lingering injuries. That could be a major part of that offense. But at the end of the day, we all know that the offense comes down to Lamar Jackson, and the guy has just been killing it lately. And so here's the thing, though. If they don't have a running game to kind of, at least give Lamar some rest, that could be problematic for a very hungry Titans team. But I see the Ravens still being the most balanced team in football. Their defense is able to play smash mouth football and hold teams to pretty low numbers when it comes to scoring opportunities. But at the same time, the Ravens offense can really just uppercut you right in the gonad. So because of that, I still think the Baltimore Ravens are the best team left in the playoffs. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who do you think is the top team? Where's your rankings at? Next week, then there are 4. Let me know what you think. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy on all social media. See down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout out and thank you to all the Patreon members over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack, go.